I like problem solving. This was a problem, a puzzle that we put together. But in the big picture, I think too, there's an importance, especially with what's going on right now in the world. Hi, I'm Todd Langford, and I built this system to be self-sufficient. Well, it is interesting. A lot of people ask why do we build the shop this way? And some of the people that have worked on it have looked at it and said, this is really an interesting design. I think I'm going to steal it because it works out pretty well. And it was really by default that it's shaped in such a weird way, but it works out really well. So it was all designed really so that the solar panels would all be facing to the south. So rather than having a typical roof, we've got a single slope roof. But what it created for us was two bays where I could make one of them quite a bit taller for my tractors and stuff to be able to fit and still have storage up above on both ends. In creating it, we could have set the panels on poles, but actually we're able, after doing some research, build a building, shop, an extra bathroom, extra bedroom. For the same price it would have cost me to put all the solar panels on poles. So this is our main just shop area where I can work on cars, tractors, whatever else. And this is where all the magic happens after the solar creates it. 18.5 kilowatt hour batteries and inverters here that convert all the DC power to AC for the house and automatically switch whenever there's not enough available between the grid. And they will also start my generator if necessary. And then all the charge controllers up here, which convert the sunlight into usable voltage electricity. And then everything gets pushed to these copper bus bars on top. It's got about as much as 2,000 volt or 2,000 amps in it potential at maximum output. And so everything, the batteries, the inverters, the charge controllers, all exchange electricity across those two bus bars. So out here in the back, more shed space, place I can store tractors. The main reason that all this exists out here is for the same reason the rest of it does, and that's so we have a large enough roof to hold all the solar panels we need to be totally grid independent. We can actually power the house, the shop, everything enough during the day to power the house and recharge the batteries, and then pull off the batteries through the night in time for the solar to pick up the next day. We won't have an electric bill, and if the power goes out, we're all independent. And when we have longer times, we'll use a little bit of the grid or use the generator, depending on what the situation is. So these are the batteries that store for us, about 3/4 of a day of usage. So it gives me a little leeway, but that will get us through the night. So these batteries will hold 18.5 kilowatt hours of power, which is 18.5 kilowatts for an hour in each one of them. So we get our usage, because of their lithium batteries, how far they'll go down, we get about 150 kilowatt hours out of them, is about the usable area. We can take them lower than that, but it's harder on the batteries. So I'm trying to adjust where that cutoff place is. And then the inverters over here, actually, we've got the grid feeding into them. We've got the batteries feeding them to them through the bus bars above. And the inverters make decisions based on battery levels, based on solar output, as to how much it uses from the grid to either help supplement if it needs it, or not to use the grid at all. And it automatically switches in and out based on the programming that's in it. It's interesting. We've had mistakes through the process that turned out to be a blessing in the end. It seems like everything that went a little bit different than what we had planned turned out to be better than the way we had planned it. And one of the things was on the bus bars, as far as the direction that I had envisioned having the bus bars turn, would have caused all the wires to come in from the side and really not have much support. But when we assembled them, I was out of town, and when they were assembled, they were put up backwards, which we were initially concerned about. We had already started wiring it. We could have taken them down, but realized, wait, it actually worked out better because now the wires have a place to sit on, and so everything is much neater and less dangerous. This is where everything gets wired. This is probably the messiest piece of all of it. And the reason is all the wiring has to be exactly the same length. So on the furthest distance that we have to travel between the inverters and the main incoming power, those will be the shortest, straightest wires, but each one, as we get closer and closer, we've got wire that we have to just roll up and deal with. So these are stairs up to the storage and then up to where the combiners are. A lift here so that I can bring heavier stuff from down below and store it up here. And then as we continue on up to the next level, so we actually have 3 levels here. All of the panels are brought in groups of 4. So we've got 4 panels in series that are tied together, and each of those 4 panels comes into the combiner in 3 different sections twice. So we've got really these combiners, I've got them split out so that I can combine 2 sets of 3 into just 2 sets going back out. So it takes 10 amps per leg and combines them, so we have 30 amps at this point going out. So you can see the difference in the wire thickness. Here I've only got 10 amps coming in max, but going out I have as much as 30 amps, so we had to adjust the wire size going out. So this combines that power, and it does it when we're closer to where the charge controllers are, so that I don't have to run heavy wire all the way out to the roof. So the interesting piece about this project was it was one of those where didn't know, not in this field of solar, but something that we knew we needed, mainly because we use a lot of electricity. We're here all the time. But the bigger issue is the power is not very clean. And I ended up burning up a lot of my electronics, my pool pumps, my other pieces, because we're at the end of the line. And so if anything happens anywhere along the line, it's going to happen to us. And so started researching into this side of it and looking at it. And the issue that we ran into was we are too big for the typical cookie cutter solar groups that are out there, and they're looking for much smaller systems. They know exactly what they're doing. They go in and get it done. And when I started talking to some of those, our area of size was outside of their comfort area, and they just really didn't know how they were going to pull it off. And then if we went to the commercial side, well, they want to do enough for several neighborhoods or half a city. And so we're in that place in between where there really weren't any straight answers. And so after doing tons and tons of research, doing the math to figure things out, talking to reps with different places who doubted what we could do, and when I presented the math, most of them said something along the lines of, well, based on the math, you're right, that should work. And so we took on a project of saying should work, and decided with all that had been done that it was time to just pull the trigger and see what happens. This was not something to be green. I don't have an issue with oil or other things. I think oil is very efficient. I think we've gotten way off track on that side of it. It's not an environmental standpoint. It's really for the freedom standpoint. It's really for the ability to be self-sufficient. To me, that's an important piece. And with this, I can be. In some ways, I think we kind of plowed new ground just because of this niche and this space that we're in from the standpoint of size. And hopefully this won't be a one-off because of the research and everything else that's been done. It'd be nice to be able to turn this into something that other people could use as well. I think we've shifted gears in a lot of ways from basis in solid principle, stuff that this country was created in. And I'm not saying that, gloom and doom and we're going to have an end, but I also think that being prepared is a wise thing. I don't think being over the top is necessary, but at least being prepared. And for this gives us a lot of independence. And with independence, that's where real freedom is. And we talk about it from the financial side of reaching financial independence. And to me, financial independence doesn't mean, you sit under an umbrella on the beach somewhere and you don't work anymore. But I think what it does mean is money is not your primary goal. I think it means you've reached a place where you can do the things in life that you want to do and know how money's taken care of. And I think to extend that, that's what this gives me as well. It gives me the freedom to be able to say, hey, our electricity is taken care of. And I think anytime you can do that with anything, and that's what true freedom is it frees your mind from any concerns in that area. And if you can free places in your mind, it gives you more ability, more resources in your brain to be able to come up with new things, to be able to expand what you're doing, to be more productive. And I think that's the key piece.